Imagine a world where nearly anyone can access a rough estimate of everywhere you have been over the past half a year, or a world where individuals are hit with targeted ads to sway a vote a certain way. This is the world we live in, and it's tantamount that as a people we decide what the future norms and expectations of privacy will be. This is an issue that affects nearly everyone, whether they want to admit it or not. Law-abiding citizens value privacy. Terrorists require invisibility. The two are not the same and should not be confused. This quote is both correct and incorrect. It is very useful in throwing out a common argument made by proponents of throwing out privacy in its entirety. The phrase, if you have nothing to hide, why should you be worried, is an altogether overly common sentiment shared by many people. This argument is purposely grouping the desire for privacy into the desire of invisibility. This is not always the case. Privacy to some degree is very important, and some people do not wish to share certain aspects of their lives. Many of those situations are not at all under threat from what most would consider to be privacy issues. Many laws that have been passed in order to fight terrorism tread the line between these two ideas. When data is collected by the NSA, for example, there aren't individuals scanning everything that comes through. It's simply combined with other data to create a pattern that someone such as a terrorist is likely to follow. A single extra point can then allow a government to pick up people that have a high chance of being terrorists. The privacy of individuals is not being compromised, while the ability of terrorists to operate can be crippled. Trading is one of the most important activities that allows a civilization to continue and grow while improving the lives of its people. It allows two or more groups to exchange goods and services in order to better help each other. When most people think of trading, they think of someone trading 3 apples for 2 oranges, or someone giving money and receiving some object or service in return. Most people may or may not realize that as a group, we have actively used our personal data as a good to trade for services. When we use the Google search engine, we are giving them any data they collect on us through our search history, pages clicked, browsing patterns and length, or any number of other ways. In return, we are being given the ability to comb through the vast wells of human knowledge that have been compiled for our ease of use. Google has and likely always will be an advertising company. They use the data they collect to charge higher prices to advertisers. In the end, most would argue this is a win-win scenario. Facebook does a pretty similar thing, but has a different profile of data it collects and a different service it offers. Recently, the public trend has been to become the unruly customer and complain that we thought the service we were being provided was free. This is not how trading works, and it is not what we have been doing. The Fourth Amendment is the most relevant amendment due to an interesting piece of law. The Fourth Amendment states that the government cannot violate an individual's right to secure their persons, houses, papers, and effects. However, the third-party doctrine states that an individual has no expectation of privacy regarding information that they voluntarily gave away. As has been established, most corporations that we deal with on a regular basis have an incredible amount of data that they have collected from us. An important part to note is that all this data was voluntarily given away. When we use these services, we gave away this data, and this allows the government to access all of it. One of the current high-profile cases in the Supreme Court is dealing with this and will create a very interesting precedent for the future. Investigators were able to roughly track someone for 127 days via the GPS in his phone. This was used in conjunction with other data to tie that individual to a series of armed robberies. When most people think of mass government surveillance, they think of phone calls being recorded, every email being collected, etc. Most people don't realize that they are collecting the data and sending it packaged with a nice bow. However, this is not a major issue for a variety of reasons. First, as is clearly stated in the third-party doctrine, there should not be any expectation of privacy for this data. Secondly, the major issues that government could cause with this data rely upon strong authoritarian governments. However, outside a major revolution, this is not likely for the future of the United States. The main issue that recently kicked off the current privacy debates was the Facebook scandal. People were angry that Facebook had enabled a third party to collect their data and use it for their own purposes. Their goal was to sway the presidential election in Donald Trump's favor, and they succeeded. This same group also influenced the Brexit election, and a number of other European elections have been swayed by third parties contracted to do similar jobs. Many hate the fact that some random group was able to manipulate huge swaths of people and allow a result that they view as disastrous to occur. They would prefer that we renegade on our deals in order to prevent such a situation from ever occurring again. That is the easy way out, and in the long run would severely hurt many services that we have come to rely on. The blame for what happens solely lies on the people. People have known for ages that people's personalities, thoughts, political leanings, food favorites, or pretty much anything can be predicted with a surprisingly high accuracy based off of simple tests. These tests use the exact same data that we have given away, and people seem to forget that. This data, combined with the fact that people create echo chambers for themselves online, created this situation. This can once again be simply solved via critical thinking. It is unwise to create echo chambers for anything, especially something that an increasing number of people get their news or beliefs from. Looking for and noticing biases and intent of information allows one to better protect themselves. One source I will be using is a paper titled "Privacy Isn't Everything: Accountability is a Personal and Social Good." The author is a professor of law and philosophy at the Penn State Law School. As an expert in privacy law, information law, and the philosophy of privacy, she is able to offer key points that many gloss over due to the combination of law and philosophy degrees. With a Harvard degree and numerous visiting professorships, along with the multitude of books and articles she has written on the topic, I would believe her to be a credible source. Overall, I found this source to be very comprehensive and easy to follow. The author provides an interesting method of showing how the issue affects several different groups and where their viewpoints come from it. I will likely be looking into several of her associated works. Overall, I have greatly enjoyed doing the research for this paper. I find the topic super interesting and important enough to everyday life that everyone should at least know what's going on. My personal belief and expectation of where this will head in the future isn't necessarily the most popular one, as I believe that we should not have the expectation of privacy on the majority of things people instinctively feel that they should. I have attempted to drive my paper's direction along that path, as I feel is where the topic will ultimately lead. I am not entirely happy with my thesis, and it may change before the final iteration of my paper. That may of course lead to slight changes in the direction of the paper. However, I feel that is a benefit in terms of argumentative research papers, as it makes them more organic. Finding sources has been fairly easy on this topic. Not only do I have the predictable troves of standard sources, but the topic also has large amounts of public commentary currently, which can help better understand the topic overall. I will be excited to see what happens with several events related to this topic, as they will set important precedents for the future. It is definitely something to follow for the foreseeable future.